or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Dr. Rock. That is spelled R-A-K, pronounced R-O-C-K. And I am a lifestyle medicine physician with Mora Medical. And this is our weekly live stream. If you're watching this recorded, if you're watching this live, welcome. And we do this every Wednesday, 11 a.m., 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. We are here as lifestyle medicine medical group, lifestyle medicine physicians, physician assistants, every week to answer questions you might have. So there's a chat. Feel free to put questions in the chat for me and bring a topic every week. And first, let me introduce my colleague, Christina Lascano. Christina, good. I'm glad you joined us. Otherwise, it would have been me rambling for 30 minutes. I don't think people want to tune in for that. No. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, it's been a good day. Seen a number of patients this morning, so I was able to help some
Awesome.
people this morning.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it fills you up.
Mhm.
I know exactly how you feel. I see
Yes.
patients, I run groups just like you, and at the end of it, I feel so full and energized. It's incredible because we're helping people live their healthiest life. So if you don't know Mora Medical, that's Mora.com. We are a lifestyle medicine medical group, and we help people treat, prevent, reverse chronic disease, lose weight, live your healthiest life with lifestyle changes. And we don't just do that by telling you what to do, but powerfully we support you, give you accountability and guidance. And it's how people make change. We work with you where you're at to help you make change that'll help you live the life that you want to live. So visit us at mora.com, and we accept insurance. We accept most health insurance, Medicare, and most health insurance. We're currently in several states, Texas, Florida, California, New York. Um, we can see patients in a few other states as well. So just visit our website, and we can always we're maintaining a wait list because hopefully we'll be able to enter your state soon. Yeah. So today, Christina, I wanted to talk about your favorite, and so the idea of comfort food.
Mhm.
Comfort food. That's what I wanted to talk about. Yeah,
Okay.
comfort food. So what comes to mind when I say comfort food?
For me, I mean, growing up I was born in California and then was raised mostly in Texas. So both of those places eat a lot of tacos. So I would say tacos are a
Mm,
comfort food for me. Um, and I've been able to make those plant-based. So that's fantastic. So I can still have my comfort food of having tacos, but I make them in a more healthful way. Um, so we put usually
yeah, what
beans
do you
instead
put
of
in?
any kind of meat. Most of the time it's beans of some kind, black beans or pinto beans. And then I've tried a few times making, you can actually make like taco meat, but it's
Mm,
not meat, made with lentils, or I've even made it with cauliflower. So you can
mm,
make like this delicious, it has the same seasonings and you would not even know that it doesn't
mm,
have meat in it. So that's a lot of times what I do for like my comfort food, because I grew up with Taco Tuesday.
mm.
Every day or every Tuesday we had tacos, and so I would say that's like my number one comfort food.
So tacos, anytime I'm asked on someone says, "What's your favorite food? What's your favorite food?" I always say tacos
Oh yeah.
because they're also like such a wonderful canvas. But I hear that you said, you grew up like just saying that, like so many times the food that comforts us, that makes us feel good, right? But this is when we talk about comfort food, we're talking about food that kind of almost reassures us. And there's different ways it does that. We could get into that maybe, but one of the ways I think it does that is it's the nostalgia and sort of the
Yeah.
tradition and memory, and like it may be food you had with your family growing up that reminds you of those. So that's a big part of it. And I love that you said, you can take something that you grew up, probably weren't eating lentil,
No.
you know,
Yeah, I don't think
right?
I knew what lentils were
Cauliflower.
at that point. No.
Yeah, yeah. But take that and say, okay, how do I recreate it in a way that now I eat this? I eat a whole food plant-based diet. So how do I take that? And it's like, oh, I can add a lot of the same flavor. I had a patient actually last year. This reminds me. He said something to me because he transitioned his diet. So he still goes out. He's retired. He goes out with a lot of his friends who still eat meat, and he doesn't really eat meat anymore. And he's sick of getting like sometimes they're giving him a hard time. Oh, why aren't you eating this anymore? Try this. And one day he blurted out to them. He said, "You only like that meat because they rub plants all over it."
That's
And
right.
he's like, all the herbs, all the spices, everything is a plant. And he said, all of you, if you want to give me a hard time, start ordering your meat with no seasoning and flavor. And so anyway, I thought that was so tacos were not my, I mean, I love tacos. They're a comfort food for me now, but I'm just thinking about what you said about growing up,
Mhm.
and it reminds me, actually my parents are coming to visit us today. They live in
Oh,
Chicago.
how fun.
Yeah, and so my mom's food is definitely like
Mm.
comfort food for me, right? And especially once I left home. And when I was growing up, like my favorite things she made were the like meat dishes, the animal protein dishes. So like she makes this chicken curry, and these kebabs and things like that. And I remember when I started eating this way, and she came to visit, and I said, "Mom, I'm not having that anymore. Like that's not, I mean, back then I would have maybe a little bit, but I remember she actually came to visit when I was like doing a full month, 100% whole food plant-based, which sometimes I advocate for people to do that because you experience like how amazing it feels, and then your preferences change. Anyway, I was doing that, and so it's like, I'm not having it, especially this month. And she was sad. She was sad.
Mhm.
She was like sad because there were so many memories with that tradition. And then I quickly reminded her that she makes like all these amazing plant-based dishes that I just didn't want growing up. I would be like, please give me more, chicken or whatever. But now she comes and she makes all these. I mean, now I look forward to that. So it's really cool, and it's really cool to see my kids look forward to that too, because
Mm.
that has become almost like comfort food for them. But comfort also means something different. Like it can mean something, I could say, indulgent, right?
Yeah.
Do you have comfort foods that I'm curious, like, and especially like as you transitioned to a whole food plant-based diet, how have you come to find some of those kind of comfort foods?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I guess before I answer that though, I'd just like to echo what you said. I think why tacos came to mind was because it was a family thing. We always ate dinner
Mm,
together as a family growing up, and so those meals that we had together were very special. And tacos were like the one that we had every week on the same day each week, and we all knew it was taco day. And so yeah, I
mm,
think there is something very nostalgic about that. And I hear that from patients too. They have
mm.
meals that are nostalgic for them. And I try to help them work through, okay, what substitutions can we make that make it still nostalgic for you, but also maybe a healthier version. So that's always kind of fun, I think, to figure out a way to make it more healthful for them, but then also still have that sentimental value. Um,
That's a really good point.
yeah. But comfort, that's a really good question. I don't know. I would say like in the winter time, a big comfort food for me is like having a soup.
Mm,
Um, so one of my favorite soups is I make this, I guess being from Texas, a lot of things are like Mexican seasonings. That's
sure.
like my
Yeah,
favorites.
that's the influence.
But
Yeah.
we make like a chili that has like um, a lot of cumin, and it's so delicious. But instead of adding
Mm,
meat, we actually put in steel cut oats, and it gives it kind of a meaty texture. So it's like really hearty, meaty, like chili. that we have when it's cold, and it's very comforting to me. But there's no meat,
Mm,
there's no oil, no cheese,
mm.
lots of vegetables, lots of beans, and then the steel cut oats give it a little bit of a meaty texture.
That. Oh yeah,
So
that's
that's
cool.
one that I really would say comes to mind when you ask like a comfort food. Um,
Yeah. Well, what and can I ask, do you ever
yeah.
put like some avocado on it or
Yeah, I do usually put a little avocado, yes.
right,
Avocado and guacamole is another comfort food for
that's
me
it.
for sure. So that's something that, you have to be careful with the amount of avocado that you
Sure.
eat, just because of the fat
Yeah,
content.
sure.
But yeah, guacamole is another big one.
Well,
Yeah.
I ask about that because I think a lot of times people who are contemplating kind of transitioning to a healthier lifestyle, and many people who have experience of sort of dieting, right? It's often framed as this punishment. It's
Yeah.
not called that, but that's really like you're sort of it's framed around restriction. It's framed around like I have, this is something I need to do. And even in the medical community, like changing your diet is often framed in like this is something you should do. It's good for you,
Mhm.
right? It's and that's not wrong, of course, but that feels then like a chore. And we all have enough chores in our life. Like eating my breakfast shouldn't be a chore. So when I say indulgent, I also think like how can you make because you've figured out ways, all the things you're describing, you really enjoy these things. You look forward to these things. That's where they
Yeah.
comfort you because it's like, oh, I've made this soup with all these warm spices and the chew from the oats, which is, by the way, that's an amazing. I'm gonna start putting oats in
Yeah,
my chili. That's a
great.
really cool idea. I never thought to do that. Um, anyway, that brings to mind that this isn't a chore. This is like you can almost think about the ways you indulge. I love banana ice cream or nice cream.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
As you were talking, I was just thinking another indulgent one is the nice creams. I've tried a few different ones. Like,
Yeah.
there's one I think that's peach and banana, and you mix
Mm.
them in a blender, and it's like ice cream, but it
I'm
yeah,
obsessed with it. Okay, so and first of all, I say I buy like 30 bananas a week, but I have 3 kids, and
yeah.
if I'm lucky, if a few of them are left to cut up.
Mhm.
So some weeks I'm like, okay, I'm buying 50 bananas.
Yeah, no, that's great. We buy a lot of bananas too.
Yeah. And when the ones are left and for those you don't know, nice cream, right? It's the ones that are left that are get little brown spots, and you're gonna slice them up and put them in any container or a freezer bag until they get frozen hard. And then you put them in, you can do it in a food processor, I think works really well, actually. You can do it in a blender, but it has to be a high powered blender. Or now they make these there's one I think it's called Yo Nana. It's not that new actually. Yo Nana is like it was designed around this, making banana ice cream. But I've never used it because the food processor work and the blender works so great. But you blend it and at first it turns kind of crumbly, and then
Mhm.
you let it go a little bit
Yeah.
more, and it gets this soft serve creaminess. Like
Mhm.
in your mouth, the mouthfeel is like soft serve, but
Yes.
it's just the bananas, right? There's no fat, and the sugar is coming from the fruit. And then you said like peach, like then it's a canvas, right? I
Mhm.
have met some people, some patients who are like, I don't like bananas, or I had one patient who was allergic to bananas. I was like, okay, then let's not let me not tell you how I'm obsessed about this. But mango is so good.
Yes.
There's a
Yeah.
forks over knives recipe that it's like
Mhm.
mango and like some warm Indian spices kind of mixed in too. So some like cardamom and ginger and it's
That
amazing.
one sounds so good. I'm gonna have to
You can
try
put
that one.
some like slivered almonds on top. Oh my
Yes.
god, it tastes like you're eating this like ridiculous indulgent dessert, but it's fruit and a little bit of nuts and spices which make it healthy. It's it's that way where it's like, this is comforting. Like this feels
Yes.
really good. And unlike the comfort food of my years past, which was, Haagen-Dazs or Ben and like
Yeah.
that food was comforting and then also in so many ways like discomforting after the fact, like in so many ways, mentally and physically. And so, yeah, that's I think the message I would hope people get is that it's not a punishment.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, there's some amazing, nice cream recipes, as you mentioned. One I tried recently was a strawberry lemonade, but it was made with the banana, strawberry, and you add lemon, actually.
hmm,
It was really good. So,
wow.
especially now that we're coming into summertime when, ice cream is gonna be more common, right, for
Yeah.
little parties and things as you go with your kids or family. It's a good option to bring this for yourself.
Mhm.
So you have something sweet and
Oh,
indulgent to eat. Or when it's just hot out and you want like a little cold snack, like it's a fantastic option.
lemon and banana. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it
See,
was
this
really
is
good.
really incredible. And so two of my favorites are which actually just talk about a comfort food like frozen fruit in general, but
Mhm.
dark, sweet frozen cherries. Like I don't think in the last 5 years I've had a day in my freezer where I don't have at least some. Like if we've never run out. I always make sure we have those because I use them in ice cream. But then I realized, wow, these taste so good. Was it you? I was talking to you yesterday,
Yeah.
and you were like,
Yeah, and
"Yeah,
I
yeah."
do the same with, mango, frozen mango. It's like my
Mm.
like one of my indulgence. I guess it's not even so much of an indulgent because it's healthy for you, but, it's one of my things I'll have, like, as at my dessert if I want something sweet. I'll pour out some frozen mangoes or peaches into, like, a
Mhm.
bowl and
Mm.
then just let them sit for maybe 10 minutes or so before I eat them, and they've kind of thawed
Mm.
just slightly, and it's it's so good just like that. So, that's another one
That's
for
good.
me.
That's really good. That's really good. Yeah, it kinda then has that, like it's a little kind of icy or
A little
firm,
frozen still, but
but
not
it's
all the way.
soft and
Yeah.
yeah. And
Sometimes I
it's
get
like
super anxious and start wanting to eat it when it's still frozen. It's not quite
yeah,
as good that way, but you let it sit for a few minutes and
and
it's
it's such a I mean, it almost seems too good to be true because before I did that, like, I get a few mangoes and, like, it's like, "Is it ripe?" And, because they don't grow mangoes here, so they're imported, and so then you'd wait, and then, like, "Oh, this one's pretty good," and it's a lot of work just for not a lot of fruit, but now you can get a big, pound bag and let it sit out a little bit, and it's usually I find it's often you can tell the color. This is how I pick out my frozen mango because, like, at Trader Joe's, it's like you can kinda see, so you want it to be like that kind of more orangish
Mhm. Yeah.
color. So I'll look and I'll be like and if it's really, really kinda yellow and pale looking, I'll probably still get it.
Yeah, it's not quite as sweet, I think, when
Not
it's
quite
less
as sweet.
pale, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say another comfort food as you're talking, just thinking about
Yeah.
this, is
Yes.
my breakfast, and,
Hmm.
I've eaten, like, the same breakfast pretty much every day for the last few years, and for me, that's also kind of a comfort is it's like in the morning, I know I'm gonna I know what I'm gonna
Mm.
eat, I don't have to make a decision about it. It's comforting to me in the morning. I have a bowl of oatmeal, um, and I used to use, like, the instant oats, and then I realized that I mean, this was, like, years ago because 'cause I've
Yeah.
been doing this for so many years now, and I realized, "Oh, you know what? I think it would be better if I use the rolled oats or steel cut oats." So now I
Yeah.
use either steel cut or rolled oats because they're just that much less processed,
That's
and I
right.
like the texture better, actually. I realized that it was more hearty tasting, and I enjoyed that more. And then I'll add banana or some berries and then some type of nut on top, either
Mm.
peanuts or walnuts or sometimes peanut butter. Peanut butter is another comfort food for me.
Mm.
But pecans taste amazing and some cinnamon, and that's
Mm.
like what I have for breakfast. Oh, and then in the oats, I also add flax seeds and chia seeds
Mm.
to give it a little bit more fiber and protein.
And
But
do
that's
you
a comfort food for me. It's become a comfort food
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
the same
yeah.
thing every day.
Well, it sounds delicious because
Yeah,
it's got all the no, it's got some sweetness, it's got some crunch, right?
yeah.
It's actually so you love it, and I love what you said. You're like, it's I don't have to make a decision. There's something
Mhm.
so comforting about
Yes.
that. You're like, I have something I really like. I eat it every day and I don't get tired of it.
Mhm.
What a comfort in that too. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's really cool. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
I just want to remind everyone we are Mora Medical. We're a lifestyle medical group. I think the first of its kind, the only of its kind. And we are all lifestyle medicine certified. That is the therapeutic use of lifestyle change to treat, prevent, reverse chronic disease, to help you lose weight, and to help you live the life, the most fulfilling life that you want to live. I think that's ultimately the benefit of having good health. And so we're all trained in helping you change your behavior. It's not that we're just going to tell you what to do. We're going to work with you, and support you and hold accountability in the way that people need to support them to make change. So you can visit us at mora.com. We accept most insurance, and we're in several states now: uh, Florida, Texas, California, a few others. We're growing. So share this stream. Certainly, I've had so many patients, actually. By the way, Christian, I don't know if you've had. Not fine. Maybe I've told them about this too, but they tell me now. They're like, "Oh, I saw the stream yesterday." They're not watching live necessarily, but this is recorded. And I had one patient last week who, oh yeah, we had one patient last week, and I won't get into the details, but just heard the stream, and and then had this big epiphany, and like shared with us again this week, like how much better they're doing. So that really like made me feel, yeah, I was like, oh, okay, somebody watch somebody watches this, and it's potentially having
Benefiting.
an impact. So I appreciate when all of our colleagues are coming on with me and sharing information, and just having a good time. Um, so thank you for coming on today. And we're talking about comfort food today. And you said, well, you said something right before I paused, was uh, you said it feels indulgent, but it's healthy. And then I had in my head, I was like, wait, are the two mutually exclusive?
Yeah, I guess not.
Something indulgent have to
Thinking
be unhealthy? That
that's
see
right.
that I think is actually what most of us associate. We think, oh, it's indulgent. It's like really good for me, and I mean, it's really tasty, but it's not good for me.
Right.
That is the paradigm that most people have in their head, or the yeah, huh.
Yeah,
So
interesting, because I think I still even had that in my head as, like, indulgent means even though I know that these foods are indulgent to me, I can find them to be extremely tasty. I love the food. Um, yeah, that I don't know if I ever called it indulgent because,
mm,
that word, right, like, in American culture, it just
yes,
is like a has turned into something that you're indulging in that's maybe not
that's
helpful,
maybe
but
not good for you.
yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
interesting. I never thought about that terminology, like,
yeah.
switch and mental
Let's
switch there.
let's reclaim that
Yeah,
word,
yeah,
indulgence,
for
because I
sure.
think, if you have a healthy lifestyle, like I was saying, it's not a punishment. It's actually
No, it's not.
it's an opportunity to feel good, first of all. So it makes you feel amazing. Like that is, I think, what people get hooked on. And this is why I said, I did this. I did a year. Um, I'll be honest, like when I was thinking about changing my diet, it was more because of like I had found out that my blood pressure was high, my cholesterol was high, and I had prediabetes. And so for me, it was sort of like, okay, initially I was like, okay, I have to do this, right? I have to do this. That's what I told myself. But very quickly I was like, and I want to do this for a long time. Like I had to reconcile that. And I was like, well, if I want to do this for a long time, I have to enjoy it. Like, and so I went very slow, and I spent almost a year, I would say, just eating plant-based on Mondays. And I mean other days too. Over time it became more and more, but initially I just said, okay, on Mondays is like almost my training ground.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to try new recipes. I'm going to try things in the cafeteria at the hospital that maybe I wouldn't before. Like they have, Vietnamese spring rolls in the rice
Mhm.
paper.
Yeah.
I always got the ones they sold with shrimp because they were there and whatever, and it came with a little cup of peanut sauce. And right next to it, there are ones with
Tofu.
tofu,
Yeah.
right? And then I had the tofu one like one Monday, and I was like, I don't even taste. Actually, it just tastes better because I don't like the kind of fishy taste of
Yeah.
the shrimp. I was like, I didn't know, like I wouldn't have reached for that.
Mhm.
And it was moments like that where I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fine. Like, you're gonna eat food that you like." And as I made lasagna, and then I made, anything, tacos, I was like, "Oh, okay." Tell me, when you were transitioning, what was your experience like? Like, how were you looking at it, and did you
Yeah.
experience something similar?
Yeah, no, mine, I went slowly as well. So I learned about this kind of on my own. I personally was having some GI issues, and so I wanted to help heal my gut through diet. And so I started slowly. It took me about a year to transition to a plant-based diet as well. So started as well with just 1 day a week. So it's funny, our stories are somewhat similar.
Yeah.
We started with like 1 day a week, no meat, and then it became more and more because I liked the meals so much. I really enjoyed the food I was making. I think I had gotten into a rut of like making some of the same dishes over and over again, and so it was very exciting. I was trying
Mm,
new herbs, trying new
mm,
spices, trying new flavors, learning how to make new vegetables, learning about new grains. And I started really enjoying, my husband and I both did it together. We started really enjoying the food. And then
mhm.
we wanted that food instead of the food we were making before. We just liked it better. And so we over time, I mean, it was like, oh, now we're just eating this all the time. And it was whole food plant-based all the time. At what some point I realized my intestines were like,
Mm,
starting to heal. I was having
mm,
so much less GI discomfort. I was feeling more energized. So for me, it did take some time. I had to slowly work up to it, especially with GI issues. If that's you, it can be helpful to kind of work up on the beans and some of the cruciferous vegetables. But over time, like these meals that I was trying, we failed a few times, right? There was
mm.
some dishes that didn't
Absolutely.
work out, and that's gonna be, the case for everybody, but there was dishes we loved, and then those became like a rotation. So that was kind of my experience. I think I my biggest thing is that I realized how delicious vegetables can be. I realized how like herbs and different spices can make things taste so much better. I don't think I really used very much different herbs
Mm,
and variety of spices before. So I actually really enjoy the food so much more than I used to. Um,
mm,
and then one thing I would like to say too is that sometimes I'll have like, oh gosh, like that nostalgia of, oh, that used to taste so good, or that used to be so
right.
comforting. And even if like there's an occasion where I'll eat something that's maybe not whole food plant-based, which isn't super often, thinking, "Oh, that used to be so
Yeah.
good. I really want to
Yes.
have that." And then it actually doesn't even taste as good as, like, what I have in my head of
Yeah.
what it used to taste like, and I'm like, "I actually really enjoy the other things that I eat, like the whole food plant-based meals and the whole food plant-based, things that I do
Mm,
now. I feel like it so much better than this thing that I thought I was maybe,
mm,
like, missing, but I wasn't, like, so
right.
that's another piece
That's
too, is your taste buds change, and over time, the things that you used to really enjoy
mm.
won't even give you the same, like, um, I don't know.
I that
I don't
resonates
know if you have experience with that too.
right, no, definitely, completely resonates with me. I did that month where I was completely whole food plant-based, and then, like, I think that was, like, in April. It was April of that year, and then in May is my birthday, and prior to that, every birthday for several years, I would go to a steakhouse.
Yeah.
That was just like at some point when I was in medical school, like with my friends, we started going as a tradition. And so I kept it up. Like even though my wife was a vegetarian, now she anyway, she would go with me. She'd be like, I know you really like this. And I remember going that year, so it was like 2 weeks after that, 30 days. And I felt great. And I was eating mostly plant-based. I was like, I said, oh, like I'm going to do this 80, 90% of the time. But 10% of the time, I'm going to allow myself, like my birthday, I'm going to go do that. And it was so interesting because like from the very beginning, I could feel like the taste wasn't as the same. Like I was like, oh, this is really rich. Like that. I kept saying that to my wife, like this feels really rich, like not in a good way. I was like, and then that night, like I didn't even realize I had heartburn all through like medical school and residency training. I would get GERD and I would take like antacids, and that went away. That went away. And then that night it came back like with a vengeance. Like it woke me up from sleep. And then I felt the next morning, I just felt like groggy and kind of hungover. And
Mhm.
I, that was almost like my body was saying in this very, very like severe way, like, this isn't the food you want
Yeah.
anymore. Like you was rejecting it. And so like my gut microbiome had changed and they're like, we don't want this. So I have to be honest, it took me like maybe 6 months, almost a year of doing that intermittently. Like I would go have a cheeseburger, like, a few months later, and I'd be like, oh, why did I eat that?
Mhm.
Because that's, and so for our patients, I always tell them that I'm like, you're going to have these moments where you want to have the thing, you may even enjoy it, but I always tell them, connect with how your body feels, have the thing, but just allow yourself to feel what you feel, and not just when you're eating it. How do you feel an hour later? How do you feel that night? How do you sleep that night? How do you feel the next morning? I've had so many patients, they'll tell me, I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good. And what you're saying and what I experienced is you get disillusioned by the
Mhm.
thing that in your head you're like, no, I love that thing. How is that? It's almost like when it happens, you're like, how, what, did you have that experience? Like, why is this not
Yeah.
so amazing? In my head, this is
Yeah.
so amazing.
It's funny that you talked about the steak because after my husband and I had been whole food plant-based, like kind of trying it out for about a year, so we had realized, okay, now we're eating mostly whole food plant-based, like almost all of our meals are this way. So we should just go completely whole food plant-based. Like we should stop eating the meat. So my husband was like, well, we used to really like steak, so why don't we just have one last steak dinner?
Mm.
And he before we like go plant-based. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's fine. Let's do that. And we'll just enjoy it this last time. And then we won't have any more meat
Okay.
going forward. And so it was funny because you said that like you tasted it and it didn't really taste the same. And the same thing happened to me. I was like so excited. Okay, this is our last steak.
Yeah.
And so he made it with the sous vide. He made it like he always
Mm.
does, or always used to, I should say.
Yeah. Right.
And then we ate it, and I was like, "I don't even like it." I didn't like
Mm.
it. I was so shocked. I was like, "This doesn't even taste the same to me. I don't
Yeah.
really enjoy it." And then I realized we made, like, some potatoes and some I think it was probably some asparagus or something on the side, and I, like, went back for seconds on those, and I didn't really eat I only ate a few bites of the meat, and I didn't want the rest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that I had a very similar
Mm.
experience where it's like,
Mm.
it didn't even taste good to me
It
anymore.
was the evidence you needed
Yeah.
to be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, yeah, we're making the right
Yeah.
decision."
Yeah.
'Cause I'm eating food I enjoy more. There's
Yes.
more variety. That's the other thing I heard you say was like, and because a lot of times people say, "Well, when I stop," at first it's not stop, right? Like we don't I would tell my patients, I'm not trying to tell you to become a vegan. I'm trying to tell you, we know the healthiest way of eating is when you incorporate an abundance of whole unprocessed plant food. And so how
Right.
can we do that in a way that feels good for you? But I say that to them. I say it's not, you're not going to stop eating meat, but when you do stop eating meat, um, you assume, like I thought, like, what am I going to eat? It's like, it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
actually, I eat so much more variety now.
Mhm.
I heard you say
Same.
that too, like insane. And the other thing I heard you say is like you had almost gotten into a rut. It was like similarly, it was like, what was the meat we were gonna make? Oh, is it
Yeah.
chicken? Is it a piece of whatever? And then like maybe a vegetable side. But now it's like, what can I do? Like these vegetables and grains and beans become a this remarkable opportunity to create so many different things,
Yeah.
and so many different flavors. And you realize like, wow, there's all these like amazing flavors from so many different cultures and ethnicities and countries around the world. And I learn about all these things that I didn't know about, because I decided I wanted to eat more plants.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one thing I just would like to say for anybody watching is if you're eating, the standard American diet, you're eating, or wherever you're at,
Yeah.
like if coming to Mora, we're not going to say that you have to be 100% plant-based, right? So sometimes people are intimidated by the thought of going 100% plant-based. Obviously, you're going to see the most benefit in your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your diabetes, your weight loss if you do 100%. But also, this has to be something that's sustainable and lifelong for you. So this isn't a fad diet. It's not something you do temporarily. So I
Absolutely.
always tell people, like, here's standard American diet, here's 100% whole food plant-based. You kind of have to figure out where you want to be on this spectrum and what works for you, right? So being 100% may not work for you, and that's fine. Where we will help you figure out what is that like, where are you going to land on the spectrum
Mm.
so that you can have the best health for yourself, but also make sure that this is going to be lifelong and sustainable. So I just want to mention
Really
that
good point.
as
Really
well.
good point.
Yeah.
And it changes,
Yeah.
because you may go in saying, okay, I want to do this 70% of the time, but like you experienced, like I experienced, you get there and you're like, actually, I like this food more,
Yeah.
and it makes me feel better. Like, and like I'm not having, this pain or these digestive issues or this, like, so you get there and you're like, never mind.
Yeah.
Makes me want to do this whenever I can, So it doesn't mean at Thanksgiving, if you go over to your grandmother's house, your aunt's house, whatever, your uncle's house, you can have the meal. You can, you know, that's sometimes people think like, oh, what am I signing up? You're signing up for on a regular basis. You're going to make choices that support your best health. That's what you're signing up for, and it's what you do most of the time, not what you do some of the time. So that I love that you remind people of that. We meet you where you're at. Again, we're Mora Medical. I just want to thank you, Christina. This was such a fun
Yeah.
conversation. I feel like we talked about like our sort of plant-based origin story and tradition and culture and a lot of things we love about this. So that is to point out that eating this way, living this way is actually like it's fun.
It is
It's
fun
enjoyable. Yeah.
and
And so
comforting too.
and comforting. Thank you. Bringing it full circle. So visit us at mora.com, Mora.com. Please feel free to share this stream with people if you think there's somebody in your life. Everybody knows somebody in their life who's struggling with chronic disease, weight related to their lifestyle habits, and just don't know. They just don't know, like, how can I change this? And they're going through the traditional healthcare system. They're getting put on more medications, and they're not feeling better. I always like to point out that we have more prescription medications in human history than ever before, and we have more chronic disease in human history than ever before. And that's because those medications don't actually treat the root cause of the disease. And so, they're like, oh, I'm on all these medications, but I still don't feel good. It's because the medications don't treat the root cause of the disease. So if you want to find that light to get you out, to get you to a place where you actually do take control of the root cause of the disease, then come visit us at Mora. And yeah, I'll see you back here next week for another lively conversation. Christina, I love having you come on. Please come on whenever you're free. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for
All right.
having me.
Have a great day, everyone. Take care.